Whilst browsing the interwebs, like I do, trying to find some theistic content to laugh at, a few of you fine folks did my job for me and repeatedly mentioned a shouty man playing the victim when atheists tell him that they don't believe in their God. We're about to listen to a street preacher explain why atheism is absurd. Hello, I'm the Skeptic, the British floating circle that watches people make extraordinary claims, then I explain why I don't accept what they're saying. Street preachers are irritating little buggers, with their shouting so that everyone within a certain vicinity gets to hear their nonsense, and they're standing on boxes to give them the literal high ground, so that when you try and say something to them, they have some kind of weird superiority and get to shout you down. Well, Kerrigan Skelly seems just like that kind of fella, and he's here to explain why atheism is absurd. And fun fact, after finding him on Twitter, X, whatever, it turns out we're neighbours and he lives here in Kentucky. Though, before we discover just how ridiculous it is to be an atheist, if this isn't your first Skeptic video, hit the like, the subscribe and the bell, and hopefully the algorithm doesn't suggest ridiculous videos for you to watch. And a super thanks to those that hit super thanks in some recent videos. New Pitbull, Megatron Jenkins, Robert, Elizabeth, Paul, Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe, New Pitbull again, and Martin Ehrman. Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe bestows leaves upon you all. More hen. We join the street preacher in their natural habitat, midway through a conversation, albeit where KS doesn't listen, just before a vocal non-believer joins the discussion.
The Bible says about atheists that they suppress the truth in unrighteousness.
I guess this is just going to be yet another video where a believer doesn't understand what an atheist is. Atheists don't suppress the supposed truth of a God. If you want it to be accepted as truth, prove it to be the case.
And so according to the Bible in Romans chapter 1, the real reason people are atheists and agnostics is because they suppress the truth they do know. It's not because of a lack of knowledge. I mean, when you stand before God and God says, why didn't you trust in Jesus? You're not going to say, well, you didn't give me enough knowledge, God. It's your fault.
You'd probably say, because you're shit at demonstrating your existence, but fortunately, standing before the Christian God is highly unlikely, so it's a non-issue.
I didn't trust. Hold on a second. It's your fault I didn't trust in Jesus. You won't be able to blame God for anything on Judgment Day. You'll be the only one to blame.
More so than someone who took the evidence, not that there is any, and concluded it was a very different sky wizard. It's definitely not an atheist's fault to not be convinced of a God. It's a very weak God's fault for not having the brain capacity to understand what it would take to convince an atheist, or the power to do so. So quit taking up for the non-existent, Kerry.
Okay. And so there's plenty of knowledge. I'll take my chances. Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't do that if I were you. There's plenty of knowledge available to you. I mean, these questions you have, I'm willing to answer all of them, for sure, as best I can. But listen,
I'm good.
I'm
just really curious.
But I want to say to you this: that there's answers to your questions. You know, so if you
I have read the Bible. I grew up as a Christian.
I'm not saying you haven't. I'm just simply telling you that if you have legitimate questions, or you call legitimate questions, there's legitimate answers. And if you're not seeking them out, you really don't want them.
How rude, Kez. Are you saying that a non-believer isn't putting the work in and that's why they're not convinced of a God? It's not up to them. What if they ask questions and conclude it was a different God?
What I'm saying is you don't have like 100% like proof, knowledge. You're saying it's knowledge, but it's not. It's your own belief.
No, it's knowledge.
It's not knowledge.
It's knowledge, yeah.
So knowledge is different from belief.
You're not.
And I don't have a problem with you having your own beliefs and you even just like letting people know about your beliefs. But telling people that this is 100% the truth, the only thing.
It is.
It's not,
It is.
though.
It is.
No, it's a belief.
So you're telling me.
See, so what you're doing again, once again, you're claiming to have knowledge that is.
No, I'm not. I already told you.
Listen, let me finish my statement.
You interrupted me first, sir.
No, I didn't. You were done, and I answered. I responded to what you said. I said for you to claim that I don't know is a claim to knowledge, which once again you claim to not have.
I said I don't know, and neither does anybody else.
That's a claim to knowledge.
Keza, being the loudest voice doesn't make you the rightest voice. If you have knowledge of a God, demonstrate it, please.
You can't know what other people know. You can't know what people know. You're not God. You can't know what I know, what he knows, what he knows. You don't know what we know. That's a claim to knowledge.
We're all humans.
Is it
None of us
faith?
know.
You can't know that.
It's beyond humanity.
I really wish you could see this. It's very simple.
Sir,
so you're saying nobody could know That's a claim.
Nobody will know until they
That's
die.
that's a claim to know everybody's thoughts and to have all knowledge in all the world, which you do not have. You have less than.
That's what you said too.
I didn't claim to have all knowledge. I claim to know something.
You said you know that God.
I do
is
know.
real. You said that you know that God is real. And
That's
Jesus
right.
is His son. How do you don't know?
I don't have to have all knowledge to know that, though.
Okay, but God is all-knowing and all everywhere.
Yes, God is all-knowing, but I'm not.
Man is twisty with his wordsies.
But for you to make a claim about everybody, a universal absolute claim, like nobody knows and no one can know until they die, that you have to be God to make that statement.
Isn't that what you just did, though?
You don't know that. Can you prove that?
Hypocrite, right?
How can you prove that?
Dude, you just said it's true. You just said it's true. Is that not
What's true?
A claim to knowledge?
I never said I didn't have any knowledge. She's the one that's agnostic. I didn't say I didn't have any knowledge.
Well,
She's the one that claimed to have no knowledge, not me.
I want to clarify one thing. As an atheist, atheists don't have a claim. All atheism is a lack in a belief that a God exists.
No, that's not true.
It's not.
Make that any of the gods, and I'm with you there.
That's a nice try and redefining the word atheist.
I'm an atheist.
But that doesn't mean anything. The word a negates. Theos means God. No God. It's a claim to have no God. That's a claim. Not a claim to lack belief in God. It's a claim that there is no God.
Oh, Kezzy is one of those folks trying to redefine words to fit his narrative. Sorry, mate, but it's not a claim. But if the only way you feel comfortable believing in a God is by shifting the burden of proof incorrectly, then you carry on. We'll just be giggling at you here in the corner.
I think a God exists. That's what it is.
No, it isn't. That's not. So that's a belief.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, but that's not what atheist is.
Right. So
Atheist declares affirmatively there is no God.
So atheism, no God. Theism, God. They're both beliefs. Yes. No.
You said you're an atheist. Atheist and atheism are two different things.
Now I understand why folks want to hear atheists respond to this fella. He's infuriatingly absurd in his lack of understanding basic definitions.
Atheism is a belief system. Atheist says there is no God.
Someone needs to go back to street preacher school. Atheist describes a person that lacks belief. Atheism describes an atheist's position. And whilst we're at it, the A in any A prefix is without.
Well, I mean, in the sense that it is the belief that there is no God, yes.
Well, you're making a claim to knowledge that there's no God.
Theism is the knowledge that there is.
And there's nothing wrong with making a claim to knowledge, okay? To make a claim to knowledge simply requires some knowledge. But to make a claim, no, it is not the same, not even close.
Dude doesn't understand Gnosticism either. Come on, Kerr.
Do you guys take philosophy class here?
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like it, man, because when it comes to saying there is not something, you have to have universal knowledge.
So what he's saying,
you literally have to be omniscient and omnipresent to say something doesn't exist. Simple as that.
Well, of course you get to say that when you literally change the definition of words, Arquez. You need to get a job with the Oxford Dictionary. See if you can get away with changing words so you get to continue not proving you're God and trying to make others appear dumb or silly for not being able to prove no God.
It's totally okay for me because I'm on Team Jesus, but I'm well aware it's not a viable
Nice
path
straw
to
man.
truth.
Nice straw man. Nice straw
I'm
man.
going to say that your worldview is faith-based, and that is untrustworthy because of that, and that's definitely not going to come back.
Nice straw man argument. Nice straw man. That's not what I said at all. Nice straw man argument, though. So when it comes to a universal negative claim, hold on. To make a universal negative claim is to claim you have all knowledge and you're all present.
No, it isn't. It's to say I don't accept the evidence thus far and I don't believe. I mean, some folks do say that there are no gods, given the definition of those creatures, but since you haven't even defined your cloud fairy, we're just at I don't believe in gods. You know, you might get better results and conversation, Kerry Blue Terrier, if you said here's why I believe in a god, rather than telling people that they aren't what they are. So far, the only absurd I hear here is your skills at talking to people.
That's the only way. No, it's not what I'm doing. I didn't make a negative claim, I made a positive claim. Completely different.
Well, you just said I know God exists and then told people that they believe gods don't exist and tried to change a few definitions.
To make a universal negative claim is to beg the question because you say God doesn't exist, but then you make a universal negative claim which requires a God to make. Simple as that. It's not hard to understand.
You say they make a claim. so that they have to do the work.
We're both making a claim.
I'm making a positive claim. You're making a negative claim.
Yeah,
two different claims require two different kinds of knowledge.
I'm claiming God doesn't exist, and you're claiming God does exist. The difference there is that your claim comes from a faith-based belief system, and my claim comes from lack of empirical evidence.
Wrong. You're wrong. That's just a misrepresentation of that.
Wait, and your weird definition of atheism isn't misinterpretation? Of course you're projecting. Why am I surprised?
Do have empirical evidence.
Well, here's the thing. When it comes to empirical evidence, to even have to say I have empirical evidence is to assume God exists.
No, it doesn't.
It does. Sure does.
What? Did you fall down today, Kes 5000? Empirical evidence is information gathered through observation and experimentation to confirm a hypothesis or claim. Someone get this fella a dictionary, then they all go on a talk about Neptune and evidence where Kerry just misunderstands what empiricism is, and if you want to watch the full video, it's in the description. But be warned, it's 3.5 hours. But this all takes place around the 1 hour 11 mark.
So we don't take philosophy class here, but wherever he went, he didn't take an epistemology class, I guess.
No, I'm actually giving you a class in epistemology right now, but you're not listening.
Who's the one that isn't listening? Speaking over and changing definitions, come on, this really is absurd.
I'm trying to determine right now if it's going to be worth my time to keep going with you.
That I'm assuming things.
You are assuming things.
Physically observe with my eyeballs.
Which you're assuming those eyes are working properly.
I really hope Kerrigan drives a manual vehicle. Dude is shifting all over the place.
Don't you do the same thing?
I have a reason to assume that. You don't.
You read the Bible?
I have a reason to assume that, but you don't.
Why is that?
Because I was created by an intelligent being. You were not.
Hang on, so a god now creates theists but not atheists. Mate, are you all right?
Tell me the reason you have to assume those things.
Wouldn't you believe
This is the response of the rational man when I deal with him philosophically.
Because talking to someone that very clearly doesn't listen is like banging your head against a brick wall. I also assume that K to the Ezzy believes that Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe leaf bee upon her doesn't exist. So now he'll have to assume his eyes work or whatever and demonstrate the claim. Doesn't that just sound stupid? Now replace the rainbow deity with the god and you'll see why this atheist is so frustrated.
Wouldn't you believe that we were all created by the same being?
You just made a claim.
Yeah, but what he's saying is that God does not exist. So assuming that he is right, okay, stepping into his shoes, hold on, doing an internal critique, stepping into his shoes, that if he is an atheist and an atheism is true, which is not, but we're assuming it is true for a second, do an internal critique once again. If that's true, then what reason does he have to believe that his 5 senses are working properly?
Obviously by testing them over and over again. Duh! Come at him. Several times. He'll see it coming. You can test his senses, but also it's not a supernatural claim to accept that senses work. So I really do just think you can take his word for it. Now, if he suggested something supernatural happened and he thought he experienced it with his senses, then we have a different situation.
I believe that both of you are in a position where you have to assume that your 5 senses work the same as the other, though you both believe that they work differently.
But you're not getting it, though. You got to go a little deeper than that, man. I'm pulling the rug out from under him, okay? So we're talking about what is the foundation for believing in the 5 senses working properly. As an atheist, he has no foundation for that.
That's not true.
He does not.
There's not a lot to say to someone who just doesn't listen. KS is ridiculous. Just saying you're wrong when actually they're really not doesn't make them wrong.
All I can do is engage in begging the question and circular reasoning, okay?
I do have an explanation.
And his explanation will be because I use them and they work.
Yeah, he can demonstrate they work through various repeatable tests. The dishonesty and weird tactics of this man.
No.
Is that really a reason?
Go deeper than that.
What's deeper? Tell me about it.
Okay, so how do we know our 5 senses work?
No, you, as an atheist.
I know.
As an atheist.
Like individual.
As an atheist.
So here is where we get into the thing where instead of seeing humans as animals, we're like a body-soul composite, right? And so it's when we're talking about me, are you referring to just like my physical body?
Man, we're gonna go around the bend on this. Let's just get straight to the point, man. Don't go around the bend 5 times.
Hold on, but it's okay when you do it, Kansas.
Well,
it's just simple, okay? So you're an atheist. We're assuming right now, for this argument, that atheism is true and there is no God. Now I want you to explain. I'm talking about body, soul stuff, whatever you're talking about. I'm talking about simply your 5 senses. Seeing, smelling, tasting, hearing, and touching. What proof do you have that they are reliable and trustworthy.
Okay.
I kinda
So,
like
well,
where you're
because
going.
And don't tell me because I see and I taste and I touch and I smell and I hear.
in numbers, you're touching this, right? I'm touching this. Can we?
How do you know
agree?
that? That's begging the question.
I'm going to ask you. Can we agree that we are both touching this pole?
If I'm an atheist, no.
Then you, Kerrigan, are an idiot. I'm sorry to stoop to that level, but there's no talking to someone who really just makes up a lot of and thinks that because they have 96,000 subscribers and a box to stand on, that they're right. It's absolutely absurd. Honestly, this guy is a POS. He actually asks in his video, what's wrong with slavery? And he has the audacity to say that people who aren't convinced of gods are the absurd ones. No wonder folks wanted someone else to watch him, just so that they didn't have to. And he didn't even say anything. He just kept telling others that they're wrong. What a terrible, yet unsurprising video. I'm not sure Kez demonstrated how atheism is absurd, but he did display how a little bit of not understanding something goes a very long way. Though you may disagree and think he did point out how absurd atheists are. Let me know in the section below. But I'm going to skeptic this as yet another street preacher just being all gob and no glory. A big thank you to this month's top level ticks on Patreon. Dark Ether Piao, Tamo, The Barely Bearable Atheist, George, Godless Granny, Addy Rockhart, The Enixes, Jakari, Elizabeth, Whiskey Tech Fred and Rick, as well as all the $3 base ticks. You can become a supporter on Patreon too at patreon.com/theskeptic. The link is in the description, along with links to all my other socials. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. From me, the Skeptic, stay safe, keep thinking logically, and ask questions. Skepticism is the first step towards truth. See you next Saturday.